In this video, I'm going to share an n8n workflow designed for the HR department. In the past, I worked with an HR team to provide training, and they faced two main pain points. The first was that they received a large number of CVs and had to spend a lot of time screening them. Second, they wanted to store the information from these CVs in a spreadsheet, but usually the process would stall because it was just too time consuming. Why do they need to store this information? Because when there's a job opening, usually you have to pay to post a job ad on platforms like JobsDB to recruit candidates. But actually, another way is if you have a database of people who have previously applied for jobs, you can send emails to those in the database. If you've been diligent about maintaining this database, it could actually contain information on several thousand people. The cost of sending emails is extremely low, but the problem is that storing each applicant's information one by one in a spreadsheet is a huge waste of time. So today I'm sharing this n8n automated workflow, which is designed to solve these two problems. First, let me demonstrate what this process looks like. Job seekers usually attach their curriculum vitae or CVs to their job application emails. Here, I can set up an automated process to automatically download the attachments from these emails, making it easier to manage and organize the incoming job applications. Here, I'm using a semi-automated approach because considering that the HR might receive a lot of different emails every day, so what does semi-automated mean? Semi-automated means that the process is only triggered when they right-click and apply a label. Here, I can assign the CV label. And in this specific case, only then will the email trigger an automated workflow. Here, let me try running this workflow. Now, what you see on the screen is the spreadsheet generated by the automated process just now. After the AI reviewed the PDF, it extracted the important information, created a summary, and even commented on whether the candidate meets the qualifications. Let's quickly take a look at this information. First, the top two rows are the company's requirements. That is, the type of person they want to hire. Here, it's a marketing manager. They also require a specific skill, which is defined by the company itself. I'll explain later where you can set up these custom skills. Here, I've set up a detailed example for you. The candidate in question has previously worked at a startup company. The following information is carefully recorded by the AI system, based on the specific requirements provided and the content found within the CV PDF document. First, let's look at these basic details. The candidate's name, you can see it's correct. Then the email is correct and the phone number starts with +1 followed by 5555. The reason there's an error here is purely due to the display format in the spreadsheet. In fact, you can see the phone number is correct. Next, let's look at the summary. It says this candidate has 12 years of experience in the tech industry. Now, if we look back at his CV, he does mention in the text that he has 12 years of experience. Then here is his most recent job, and his title is e-commerce product owner, which is correct. There's also a company called Congo Basin, which is correct as well. Next, regarding his education, he has a master in management, and his school name is also correctly listed here. Now, when looking at the rest of the information, I need to briefly summarize what achievements this candidate has attained, what hard skills and soft skills he possesses, and whether he knows how to use any specific tools or software applications. In the achievements section, it was specifically mentioned that this candidate successfully led a team of 20 software developers, conducted a total of 210 tests, and created 112 new features. Now, looking back at his CV, it also clearly states here that he led 20 software developers, carried out 210 tests, and developed 112 new features. This particular part has been summarized quite well by the AI. Next, let's take a look at the various tools and platforms he is able to use, including Mixpanel, Google Analytics, Notion, Trello, and so on. You can see that actually on the right side of the PDF, it currently shows the different skills that he has. And then this column is the must-have skill. What does it really mean when it says yes? It means whether he meets the requirements or not, because, as mentioned before, job seekers need to have gained hands-on work experience in a startup. When he says yes, he needs to provide clear evidence to back it up. So he listed the work he did at these two startups. I believe you now understand what this automation process is for. Normally, doing this manually to prepare a CV would take at least 20 minutes, because not only do you have to type everything out, you also have to carefully read through all the resumes, spend time summarizing, and copy and paste each piece of information one by one. Just imagine if you receive 100 or even 1,000 CVs, it would be an enormous waste of time. With an n8n process, everyone can handle this automatically. Next, let's talk about this workflow. Actually, this workflow is not difficult at all, because in em8n, when you search for the Germanize node, it already has a built-in function called analyze document. Once you go in, all you need to do is provide the attachment from Gmail, that is the CV or curriculum vitae, put the file name here, and then enter the prompt here, which is how you want to analyze the CV. It will analyze it for you. But why does it look like there are so many steps involved? Let me quickly explain why that is. First, in the Gmail trigger setting, as I mentioned earlier, we don't trigger on every single email because not all of the emails that the HR colleague receives are actually job applications. So here it's a semi-automated process. He simply right-clicks to proceed. He tags the email, which is also commonly called a CV, and only then will this automation process actually be executed. So whenever he tags any email as CV apply, after waiting for about a minute, the spreadsheet will then automatically display the relevant information. There's also another alternative option. We simply must enable the download attachment setting. So, in addition to extracting the email content, this Gmail trigger will also automatically download the attachment. Why are the routes split into upper and lower paths here? Because the Gemini API, when analyzing files, only accepts JPEG and PNG image formats, or PDF documents, and it does not support Microsoft document files. So here, I created an effect to help detect and accurately identify exactly what type of document it is, making it easier to determine the file format before processing. Here you can see if the file you are working with is a PDF, it takes the upper route. If it is not a PDF, I use a tool called Cloud Convert, which is an online API service. This API helps you convert different types of files, so I convert it to PDF format here. So this part is for handling and managing the format of the attachment. Next, there is something called the edit field, which is actually used to record and document the HR's requirements. As I mentioned earlier, the candidate needs to have experience in startups, and the system will automatically check and verify whether the candidate meets my requirements. Here, I can make adjustments or modifications. For example, I can simply specify that event management experience is required. At the same time, they need to know Photoshop since the position I'm hiring for is marketing manager. After setting a requirement and obtaining the CV, you need to set a prompt in Gemini here. This prompt is somewhat lengthy and detailed, so I'll briefly explain it now for clarity. Here, I specifically tell it that it needs to carefully analyze the CV and can only output the results in JSON format, because it's much easier to import into the spreadsheet. Also, if the person meets the requirements, they need to provide proof. Below, I give an example of how it should output this information. The format of this JSON corresponds to the special format. The first part is the requirements, and the second part is the candidate's information, such as name, email, phone number, and so on. The third part is their years of work experience and where they graduated from. The fourth part is their experience in their most recent job. The fifth part covers some of their skills, meaning hard skills, soft skills, and what tools they know how to use. Finally, whether they have any certifications, what languages they speak, and whether they meet the requirements. Here I'll try clicking execute. The model I'm using is the latest Pro version, which is 2.5 Pro. Here you can see it turns green, which means it's done. The final step is to hand it over to the AI agent and have it input the analyzed data into this spreadsheet. This step is relatively simple here. I'm using the GPT 5-minute model. Let me explain here why I allocate tasks this way and use different models. Because Gemini's strength is its high token limit, it's excellent for analyzing documents with a lot of text, and on top of that, it's free to use. But OpenAI's models are relatively more obedient, so I usually use OpenAI's models for the AI agent. Inside the AI agent, I simply give a very simple prompt, very clearly telling it that it needs to accurately put the previously analyzed data into the Google Sheet, and that it cannot add its own opinions. It's done. Here you can see a green border around the Google Sheet, which means it has successfully used the Google Sheet tool. Now I've entered back into this Google Sheet. The row of data below is what it just filled in. This time you'll see that for the must-have skills column, it says no, because I changed the requirement. Previously, the requirement was that the person needed work experience in a startup, but this time the requirement is that they need experience with Photoshop and event management, so it filled in no here. Here's a feature that not many people really talk about. If you click the three dots in the upper right corner and go to the settings menu, you can record exactly how much time this particular task has saved you. I think that if you normally have someone manually process a CV, even at the fastest, it takes about 20 minutes. So it will record that every time you run it, it saves you 20 minutes. After a year, when you reflect back, you'll see how many weeks of time you've saved in total overall. I will be sharing this workflow for free with anyone who has attended or will attend our n8n workshop. All you need to do is go to our website, log in to the student platform in the upper right corner, and you'll find this workflow there. Personally, I believe that learning n8n is going to be a very important skill in the coming years, because within a company, different departments can actually use n8n to automate a lot of repetitive processes. If you also want to learn this high-value skill, you're welcome to join our n8n Practical Application Workshop, which will be held on November 1st in Shungwan. In the workshop, you'll learn about the complete automation workflow we just mentioned, as well as how to build and construct an advanced AI agent. To join this course, you don't need to have an IT background, but you should have a basic understanding of using computers. For example, you should be familiar with using cloud-based software in your daily life, such as Google Drive, Dropbox, Gmail, and so on. If you only use your phone for work on a daily basis, then this course might not be suitable for you. Additionally, if you feel you're not very familiar with the characteristics of AI, for example, if you're not quite sure about the strengths and weaknesses of models like DeepSeek, OpenAI, and Gemini, you're welcome to also join our AI Specialist Upgrade Workshop on October 25th, which is the Saturday before this one. After attending this workshop, you'll have a very clear understanding of the characteristics of AI models from different companies. Both workshops include a large number of practical exercises, because it's through hands-on practice that you'll truly master these tools. If you sign up for both workshops, you'll receive a 10% discount. If you'd like to take advantage of this offer, feel free to contact us through our inbox for more information. If you want to learn more details about the course content, you can click the link below the video. See you in class.